Hello, and thanks for coming by. I want to share this project with you. I picked up this bench not too long ago on Facebook Marketplace, and it was actually listed for free. And I thought, well, why not? I got nothing to lose. And as you probably suspected, it was not in the greatest of conditions when I first picked it up. The wood was kind of small and thin, and it had really seen some sun and abuse. It wasn't sealed anymore. The wood was, I don't know, it wasn't the highest quality, but that's beside the point. Having access to your own wood makes this project a no-brainer, and actually the whole cost was probably about 40, maybe $45 total with everything included. Now, when I say everything included, I mean the cost of the bench, the hardware, the paint, the sandpaper. Now, granted, I needed a couple of tools to be able to do the job, but they're not actually very expensive tools. And as you'll see, the process was pretty straightforward. So if you're looking to get into a hobby that has a pretty big impact, this is a pretty easy one to start. I have picked up quite a few of these benches, mostly the sides and backs, on Marketplace for between $25 and $40. And I usually only pay up to $40 if it has a really nice back. You just have to wait. People will get rid of them. I don't know what era they're from, but there seems to be plenty of them out there.
Okay, so this is after chemical scrubbing and some use of a Dremel tool and a grinder wheel, a little grinder wheel, and here's the side piece. Got all the rust off that I could get off. And I used this bench grinder with a wire on it, and I used my drill with this wire on it to get in the detail, and I used my Dremel tool with this piece on it to get in as close as I could. So now I'm getting ready to prime it with some Rust-Oleum white metal clear primer. It says it's good for lightly rusted, and there is just a tiny bit of surface rust. What I'm noticing most on this is the imperfections in the casting. You have these raised lines here and some details in the feed where it looked like there was some slag. I tried to grind out some of it, but the rest of it I figured, you know what, this isn't a perfect casting, so let's see how it looks once it's primed. I think what's important here is to get it into the details without letting it cake in there and obscure the details. So we want to get it in there. We're going to do thin coats here. Thin coats and get it in there nice and deep. Spread it out nice and thin. That way, like I said, it won't fill in the details, but it'll still cover the metal. Okay, later. Okay, I gave it a couple hours for the primer to really dry and get to where it released all its gases. And so this is what we're looking at right now. It's got a good solid coat. And I did both sides of the ends. So now it's time to move on. And I cleaned the brush with some paint thinner, so I'm reusing the same brush. And now I'm going to use this high heat black. I think the reason that I'm going to use this, and not only does it have premium rust inhibitor, it's for grills, fire pits, and it dries in 10 minutes. The reason I wanted to use this is because I'm in Florida, and in Florida sun, anything that's black is going to get really, really hot. So this is what we're going to use to paint it. We're going to go thin coats and put it back to black. Okay. Now, just for the record, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put the first coat on the back side. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that I can avoid drips coming through. As you can see over here, this was starting to sag on the side. So I'm going to paint the field. I'm going to leave these upper bars, and I'm going to flip it over and paint the front. So that's where we are. trying to not have a whole bunch of drips. Just lightly hit this field. Get a first coat on it. It's going to be gray. It's going on white, so it says 10 minutes to dry, so we'll see. Now we're on the other side. It's really cool because the contrast that pops up is kind of neat. Look at that. And if I just left it like that, it'd look kind of cool. Shadowed effect, but that's not how we're doing it. You gotta get these drips because they're noticeable. All right, so initial layering.
It took about 3 coats to cover the white primer, using light coats to avoid drips, and as you can see, this lizard was really enjoying the heat off of that black side rail.
Okay, so clearly not what I was expecting. And I guess I should have read the can better, because it does say natural cedar, but that color does not look like this color. This is a reddish kind of color, and yes, it does say natural cedar on it, but I saw, it says natural cedar there, but I saw transparent wood sealer, barely tinted, waterproofing protection. I don't know about you, but I consider this a little bit more than just barely tinted. I'm hoping it dries to a lighter color. Right now, I'm not optimistic. Let me show you what it looked like beforehand. That's the natural cherry wood right there. I got a blotch of it right here. Hopefully I can spread this out and it won't leave a specific stain on it or a blotch mark because I painted the bottoms or treated the bottoms first. We'll see how it looks when I get closer to being done. Okay, it was a bit of a trick to get the first slat in, but with leaning against the wall, I was able to get the first slat in and able to square these up so that they're sitting pretty straight, because I want the slats to be evenly spaced. So I'm going to get the next one, lay it on there, and we're going to try and make these evenly spaced. So I can get this in here. And I'm gonna feel it from the bottom. Make it look like it's evenly spaced. Because that's really more important, is that it's visually evenly spaced, because you're gonna see it if these aren't parallel. And then I'm gonna take a pencil and where I can see it, it looks like it's pretty evenly spaced. I'm gonna circle. Come down here, do the same thing. And now I'll know where to drill the holes to be able to set the next set of bolts. And this nut, for some reason it's not really going on there very well. Must have been just a little cross-threaded. But it's coming up nice, so stay tuned. I'm gonna hope this comes out okay. So I'm learning that to put these boards in, keep them tight, it's probably better to start here, slide it in, bring the angle down, and slide it down while it's in the channel until it gets to the tab you want. So I guess like it would have been better to start with the front one. And then what I did here, if you look at these carriage bolts, they've got a square here. And what I did is I hit them with a hammer to drive them in to make the square hole so that it would hold while I put a socket on. Where's my socket? There it is. Well, I put that socket on the nut so that it'll tighten without being a problem. So the only problem is you got to just make sure you line it up. Of course, helps to find the hole first, right? There we go. There it is. You can see the ground. Run it through. Make sure it lines up. Press it in. And it wouldn't be such a critical issue, except if you look at these bolts, there's not much thread sticking out, which is kind of cool. I want to say I planned it that way. I want to say that. That's off a little bit. Okay, let's try that again. Off. One thing I will note is that these boards, even once they're in, there is some flexibility. You can move them a little bit. You can see, like, you can change that gap a little bit, but not much. So it's probably a good idea to just stay in the center of the board. But I'm trying to line them up and then draw the circle. And it's coming out okay so far. Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, a few things I want to point out here. One, all the hardware is stainless steel. It's going to be outside. It lives outside. If you don't put it stainless steel, it's going to rust. And galvanized steel just is going to look ugly after a while. You know how it gets that gray coating? The second thing I want you to notice is that these straps that are on the boards and that run 45-degree angles from the sides, these aren't always available when you're buying these benches. So I haven't quite found a good solution for that because of the size. But if anybody has any suggestions, please leave a comment below on where I could get these metal strappings. But yeah, stainless steel hardware. Very important. And here you go. Here's the finished product. Now, one of the big things I'd like to say about this particular project is that the bang for the buck is really high. You get a lot of kudos when they look this good, and they're not that hard to do. Some things you might want to pay attention to. These backs, these metal back frames, they have kind of a camber to them. There's a 45-degree angle on the inside edge that you may want to cut on the wood slats that go around them prior to assembly so that they fit nice and tight against the metal frame. Other than that, the boards on these are 50 inches long, so you can cut your top rail, your bottom rail for the back at 50 inches, and all of your wood slats at 50 inches. And then cut the camber on the top and bottom, and then you can figure out your height for your side slats for the back. Okay, I hope you give this project a try. And if you found this beneficial and you liked it, give me the big thumbs up. And if you're interested in seeing other projects that I do, hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell notifications. You can see other stuff that I'm doing. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll come by and watch some other projects, and maybe we can share some information in the comments. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.